Yo guys, another video for you. Alright, right side, driver's side, upper transmission mount for, you guessed it, CU2 Acura TSX 09 and up. I believe this car goes to 2014, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, quick video. It's actually pretty simple. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's pretty simple. I removed the air filter. Pretty easy. I'm gonna show you. Basically, that's how it would look like if it were still installed. You remove a bolt here, and there's another bolt wedged between this computer and the engine, the transmission mount. There's a bolt right there. It's 10 mil. Remove that. It'll come right off. Set that aside. Then you're gonna find out that there's a really weird bolt, a weird looking bolt there. What I did is I took my deep socket, my deep 17 impact socket, 6-faced, like this one. That's what I mean by 6-faced, 6-sided. So I took that, took my my 3-pound Milwaukee sledgehammer, whatever you want to call that. I smacked it a couple times till I got it to pretty much be flush with the lip. Took my 10-inch extension with my 18-inch ratchet, removed it. Once I remove this, I know I can continue with the project. I'm not going to remove the bracket because I'm just going to raise the transmission up, and that'll give me enough room to probably remove this. If I find out that I can't because there's not enough room, then I'll remove the mount. But from what I can see, you don't really need to remove a lot of stuff. I removed this hose from the cover so that I could move the remove this intake tube. Didn't really have to, but I did it anyways, just in case. You could probably leave it because you only need access to the 14s unless it were the case where you'd have to remove the bracket. And then if you'd have to remove the bracket, there's 1, 2, and 3 17 mil bolts. You can just barely see it, but it's right there between those wires right there. That's the last one. As long as you have like an extension long enough, you don't really need to remove this bracket for all these wires or anything. I did remove the 2 10mm bolts for this computer so that I can move it a little bit, because this little bracket here, that is where the 10mm goes for the intake box, was kind of in the way since I'm using a long deep impact 14mm to remove these. But basically, like I said, you could just wedge this right between the wires and stuff. So you can see it was kind of annoying. You can't really get the 14 all the way in because of this bracket, so that's why I removed it. I just left it right there because I don't really need to remove this completely. So just moved it a bit to the side, got to the 14, you loosened up all the 14s already. Then I'm just gonna raise the transmission up enough to get the mount out without having to remove the bracket. If there were not enough space, then I'll remove the bracket, but for now I'm just gonna leave it there. If you were to remove it, there's those 3 bolts, and there's a 10mm ground right there you have to remove as well. basically that's it. I'm gonna cut this scene so that I can remove the bolts and raise the transmission. Then I'll start filming again and let you guys know if I actually did have to remove the bracket or not. Hopefully I don't have to. We'll see. Okay, so basically I already removed the bolts. They're pretty short. Those are the bolts, the 3 bolts holding the bracket to the chassis. I mean the engine mount to the chassis. And I removed it, and as you can see, there's already a little bit of play. I haven't even raised the transmission up. So that's kind of a good sign. I'm going to continue this video with the lower transmission mount because I don't want to make 2 separate videos, and I'm guessing that it would be easier to actually do this as I'm doing it and remove these bolts first, because that way I can raise the transmission up and get to the lower bracket easier without having too much difficulty. Because I'm thinking if I change this one now, the lower one's gonna be a lot harder. So I'm just gonna take advantage of this one being loose and the transmission being loose to remove the lower transmission bracket, and hopefully that'll ease the raising up of the transmission and the engine when I'm gonna raise it to remove the lower mount. So I'm gonna cut the video here. I'm gonna start checking out how to remove the lower one, and I'll show you guys how I remove it. Okay guys, I lifted the car up with both my scissor jack and my floor jack. You shouldn't do these things without jack stands, but in this case I don't have jack stands at the moment available because I'm using them for another car. So for precaution, don't do this without any jack stands, guys. I'm using the scissor jack basically as a jack stand, and I've left the rim on. I just turn the tires so that I have ease of access, so that I don't have to remove the tire, and that way if anything happens, the car is not gonna squish me to death. But please guys, don't do this without any jack stands. If you're gonna do this sort of job, anytime you're working underneath a car, use jack stands. So here we go, lower transmission mount for Acura TSX 09 and up. You got 2 14s here on the subframe, and you got 2 14s right there on the transmission. These 2 lower ones are the 14s we're looking at. Those 2 in the bottom right there. So those are the ones I'm gonna remove. Really simple. You just need an extension with a 14 for these 2, and for the lower ones, which are these 2, you just need a 14 mil. I used a deep impact one. Not that it needs to be deep impact or anything. It could be a short 14. But yeah, a ratchet or a breaker bar. I already loosened them up. I'm just gonna remove them to remove the mount, and I'll show you guys when I remove it, to show you guys if you need to jack the transmission up or if it just comes off by removing the bolts. Okay, I'm gonna cut it right here. Alright you guys, after probably 15 minutes of playing with this thing, I ended up raising up. Huh? I'm doing a video.
Oh. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So I ended up raising the transmission with the floor jack all the way up. And even still, it was incredibly difficult to get this thing in here. Honestly, probably the hardest mount of them all to place. Basically, I took the mount, the new mount, and I went through this hole, and from here I wedged it in here, and after a couple of hits and a bunch of bad words, after a bunch of French, I was able to get it in there. Extremely difficult, like probably the hardest mount of them all to place, just because there's not a lot of room down here. Like, it's really not a lot of room. The design of the transmission is just really not helpful. Extremely hard to place in here. But it is very satisfying once you're able to actually get it in place. I'm almost 100% there. I still haven't gotten the front bolt to go through the chassis hole, so that's my next mission. Other than that, I've gotten this one aligned and the hole. I just gotta get this bolt to this hole down here. It's not easy at all. Yeah, I don't know how much a mechanic would charge for this sort of job, but definitely a pain in the ass. Definitely a pain in the ass. I'm gonna cut it here, and I'll show you guys the rest of the removal for the upper. That was definitely no fun taking that bottom one off and putting it back on. Super hard. Well, going to the top one. Hopefully this one's a lot easier. I don't feel like removing the bracket. I know if I remove the stupid bracket, it'll be a lot easier, but I'm just going to raise the transmission and hope for the best. Alright, got the transmission up. Look at that. Came right out. So, lower transmission mount. Completely fucked. Top transmission mount. Not good. Not good. Let's get the flash. Broken, 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 and broken. All right, I'm gonna get the new one in. New one. Let's see. Goes like this. Just like that. Just slid right in. Just slid right in. Okay, got the bolts in place. Haven't really tightened them yet. It's better to have them loose. Just hand tight, just like 2 threads at least, just so that it's in place. Now, to get this aligned right, you need to get the jack on the transmission all the way in the back, as far back as you can. That's going to help you align the hole for the top bolt. And having this loose will also help you out. So align it. Can't really record and do this at the same time. Sorry guys, just gonna have to align it myself. Gotta use both hands here. And threads through this sucker. few threads, and good to go. I'm going to tighten that top bolt first, then I'll do the other ones. Then I just have to mount the intake box and a few other things that I loosened, and that's it. Top bolt's the most important one to align, especially since I had to smack it with the sledgehammer. Alright, perfect. There you go. That's how that little pesky bolt looks like. Like I said, just use a 17 with 6 faces. Get it to where it almost falls in place. Then hit it with a hammer or a sledgehammer. Make it fall in place. That'll give you a good, nice grip. And that way you don't have to buy any special tools. You can just reuse the bolt. Like I did. The extension obviously does not help maintain the socket in place that well. But if you apply good pressure and you tighten, you're good to go. Alright. I'm just gonna finish this, and that's it, guys. That's pretty much the whole video. After that, it's just putting the intake hose back, the hose for the valve, the 2 bolts for the I believe this is transmission computer. I'm not sure what this is, but anyways, you bolt that, you tighten your 14s, and you're good. Put your intake box, and you're ready to drive. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, let me know in the comment section any thoughts, ideas, any videos you want me to you want to see me do. That's it, peace.